second half effort, obviously, against UAB, but credit the Blazers. They're really good. You know, they're a legit top 50 team, and they're going to win a bunch of games and have a real chance of being an at-large team in the NCAA tournament. Their speed, I thought, any open floor was a big factor in their win. Our transition defense really haunted us in the second 20. You know, I could go on and on about all the things that we've got to get better at, but the positives are played a really good first half against St. Joe's and a pretty good second half, and then a pretty good first half against UAB. We got to figure out a way to put 40 together.
And what's when you talk about putting two halves together or something? I mean, what key to that?
I think again we're struggling. This team is struggling with emotions, with poise. Competitive character. Like, what do we do when the other team goes on a 7-0 run? And to this point, we haven't handled those runs very well. Get a little emotional, get a little bit, I've got to put the team on my back and go make a play that we don't practice, you know, which leads to a bad shot potentially. A lot of times a pick six, you know, put my head down and try to make something happen out of nothing. Just bad decisions. A little bit emotional with referee calls. You know, we've got to grow up. I mean, we've got to understand that what it takes to win. A bunch of factors, but one of them certainly is having some competitive composure and understanding that the other team's going to go on runs and it's not the end of the world. And we got to figure out a mix of guys too. That you know, we can consistently count on for that composure. And I think right now we've got a bunch of guys that are fighting over playing time. Honestly, we've got so much parity. It can bring you advantages, of course, and it can bring you some uncertainty in terms of when am I coming out? I've got to make a play. What do I need to do to stay in the game? So those are things that we're sifting through right now.
I was going to ask you about the parity. Some of the parity you've got. A lot of these guys are come from other places where they're used to playing all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, and now, again, they have not only learned to play with new teammates, but at the same time, I mean, they say, hey, man, I did this last year. I could do it. I mean, so how are you trying to handle that?
Well, I don't know that there's an exact answer for it. A lot of this is trial and error and communicating with our guys honestly and consistently. Preaching that if we win, we all win, right? Everyone in college basketball, for the most part, wants a larger role. The guys that aren't starting want to start, and the guys that are starting want to lead us in scoring. And we've got some guys that I think first and foremost care about Georgia winning. We need more of that, of course, especially as you're fighting through some of the adversities in game. We need guys, like every team in our league, I'm sure we're all preaching the same stuff, to pull for one another, regardless of whose night it is. We need more of that right now. We've got to settle in and sacrifice and figure out, you know, who, at the end of the day, which 8, 9, 10 guys, how big is our rotation going to be? I'm not sure. But whether we settle in on 7 or 11, we've got to accept some roles. And as a staff, we've got to continue to define roles, but we've got to accept them as well, and not, you know, not in terms of a role that I benefit most from, but a role that we benefit most from.
Looking bigger picture, 6 games in, what are you most pleased with, and what are those areas of emphasis kind of going forward?
Our offensive rebounding, pleased with that. Very displeased with our ball security. It's at a level that I haven't been a part of, and that'll be preached as much as any facet of the game today in practice, tomorrow in practice. I mean, we've just got to. We can't make emotional decisions with the basketball. We've got to have more poise and composure and take what the defense gives us. Just chill. Let's relax and hit singles and not try to hit grand slams, which again I think is a part of our emotional DNA, competitive DNA. I think we got some guys that really want to win, you know, and that are used to winning. We got to win here, and we can't do it on our own. We've got to do it collectively the right way. Another positive would probably be the fact that, again, where are we with our rotation and who deserves what minutes and who's our sixth man and who should be. We've got a ways to go to figure those things out. But we have had a number of guys, 11 guys really, that when you call their number, they're giving us something. And it's what makes it a little confusing is it's all different stuff. We have such different pieces to this roster, and instead of these pieces being conflicting, we got to figure out a way in time for them to be complementing, right? And again, that takes sacrifice, and that takes role acceptance over time.
Justin had a good tournament.
Yeah.
Just what stood out to you the most about what he was able to do those games?
His swagger, his confidence level, and he wasn't perfect by any stretch against UAB. We watched some film yesterday, and we're all making mistakes. UAB made some mistakes too, right? And it's early in the season, but he's really worked on his stroke. He's shooting the ball at a high clip. He's getting to the rim. He made some plays really out of nothing, right? He made some open floor plays. He attacked some closeouts. He was a big spark for us this weekend for sure. Individually speaking, probably the biggest bright spot.
Get back to the first half defense in both of those games. I mean, you can tell how when it was going well out there, how the kids are really kind of getting excited about what they're seeing, buying in that regard. Yeah,
I mean the culture on the bench has been great. The aura on the bench is really been fantastic. That said, when we hit those lulls, you have a dry spell offensively that leads to maybe a couple defensive possessions with a lack of urgency. All of a sudden, UAB goes on a 5-0 run, a 7-0 run. We can't be so down. We can't be so emotional the other way. We've got to stay the course. Next play mentality is what we've preached with this group as much as anything, along with ball security. Stop turning the dang thing over. But for the past month has been emotions, guys, composure. In backing guys up a little bit, I would rather that than the apathy, right? I do think our guys really care. We just got to figure out a way to channel those emotions and be more consistent, more level-headed, which again, it's circular. Leads back to the turnovers. Some of those decisions we're making not clear-minded as we need to be.
He played East Tennessee State. I know historically is one of these teams like to get up and go. Is that still pretty much their motif there?
Desmond Oliver is a long-time SEC assistant.
Right.
He's here at Tennessee, and good guy, good coach, and you have those guys prepared. They're a good team. They just had a tough loss the other day to a team. I thought App State came in and just played really, really well, but East Tennessee's a very good program historically, and it's a test for us. It's an opportunity for us, but it's going to be a tough test.
Right.